Have you ever sat on the sofa with a family-sized bag of chips, intending to have just a polite handful, only to look down 20 minutes later and realize you have inhaled the entire foil sack down to the greasy crumbs? That strange metallic aftertaste coating your tongue, your throat parched for water, and your brain begging for just one more crunch even though your stomach is visibly distending. You probably blamed your own lack of willpower. You told yourself you have zero self-control when it comes to salty snacks. Stop beating yourself up right now. You were never fighting a lack of discipline. You were fighting a multi-million-dollar food laboratory that engineered that exact physiological failure before the spuds even left the farm gate. By the time you finish this video, you will know more about the Australian snack aisle than 99% of shoppers pushing trolleys through Coles and Woolies. I will show you how massive food corporations use loopholes in our food standards code to hide potent neurostimulants under 3 different names on a single packet. We will crack open laboratory data exposing why popular party crisps sold in Sydney and Melbourne carry chemical loads that would trigger mandatory health warnings or outright bans overseas. You will discover why one of the most iconic cylinder packaged snacks cannot legally call itself a potato chip, and which beloved Aussie lunchbox staple is secretly bathing your kids in petroleum-derived dyes. Best of all, once we rip through the 10 worst offenders on local shelves, saving the single most deceptive, doctor-flagged packet for the absolute end, I am going to hand you 4 genuinely clean alternatives that deliver massive crunch without treating your digestive tract like a chemical dump. To understand how we ended up here, you need to understand how real food gets turned into shelf-stable industrial paste. A genuine potato chip requires 3 things: sliced potato, clean cooking oil, and salt. That is it. When you drop fresh potato slices into hot fat, water vaporizes, creating tiny pockets that deliver crispness, while natural sugars caramelize into genuine flavor. But real potatoes spoil, natural oils oxidize after a few weeks, and seasonal crop variations mean every batch looks slightly different. To a global corporate supply chain, natural variability is the enemy of profit. So the industry dismantled the process. Instead of whole vegetables, ultra-processed crisps start with dehydrated potato flakes, corn flour, and industrial starches mixed with water into a wet slurry. Think of it like running wet cardboard through a pasta press. This paste is stamped into uniform geometric shapes, blasted through high-heat fryers running on cheap polyunsaturated seed oils, and sprayed with electrostatically charged seasoning powders. These powders are where the deception happens. Because stripped-down starch paste tastes like nothing, food chemists construct hyper-palatable formulations. A precise ratio of refined carbohydrates, cheap industrial fats, sodium, and free glutamates designed to bypass your brain's satiety signals. It hits the bliss point, preventing your stomach from signaling that you are full. You keep chewing because the food disappears so quickly in your mouth that your body registers phantom calories, tricking evolutionary survival mechanisms into demanding another bite. Then come the stabilizers and synthetic preservatives. To keep bags sitting in distribution warehouses for 9 to 12 months without spoiling, manufacturers dump in synthetic antioxidants derived from petrochemicals. These prevent oil oxidation on paper, but independent toxicity assessments raise serious concerns about their impact on gut microbiomes and cellular health. On the pack, these additives hide behind friendly consumer marketing terms, clean fonts, and proud little logos claiming natural flavors or local heritage. It is a masterclass in supermarket sleight of hand, and it starts with the first bag on our list. Number 10. Red Rock Deli Sweet Chili and Sour Cream. Owned by the Smith's Snack Food Company, wholly owned by PepsiCo, Red Rock Deli is marketed across Australia as the gourmet, artisanal choice for dinner parties. The packaging uses matte, earthy tones and claims natural flavors, tricking shoppers into believing it is a premium pantry upgrade. Look past the rustic typography. An independent analysis of the seasoning panel shows a heavy dose of flavor enhancer 621, monosodium glutamate, paired immediately with yeast extract and hydrolyzed vegetable protein. Under the Food Standards Australia-New Zealand Code, manufacturers can hide high levels of free glutamates behind hydrolyzed proteins, giving you a triple-stacked flavor punch without declaring extra MSG. When you eat them, your tongue gets an unmistakable chemical tingle, followed by intense dryness. At $6.50 for a standard 165-gram bag at Woolworths, nearly $40 a kilo, you are paying gourmet artisan prices for industrial starch soaked in cheap sunflower oil and coated in synthetic umami boosters. As Sydney clinical dietitian Sarah Gray pointed out, marketing these as premium deli crisps is pure illusion when the sodium and glutamate profile mirrors budget junk. Red Rock Deli sells the illusion of a Byron Bay farmer's market, but delivers the chemistry of a discount processing plant. Number 9 takes us to the party aisle with CC's Tasty Cheese. Manufactured by Snack Brands Australia, CC's trades heavily on classic Australian underdog nostalgia. Remember the slogan, "You can't say no"? Well, your liver and blood pressure certainly want to. While consumers trust CC's as a straightforward corn chip, the ingredient list reveals artificial color 110, also known as sunset yellow FCF. In 2010, the European Union mandated that any food containing color 110 must carry a prominent warning label stating it may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children, following the landmark Southampton University study published in The Lancet. Yet under our FSANZ regulations, it sits quietly in lunchboxes without a single warning flag. That electric orange dust coats your fingers with petroleum-derived pigment while delivering over 520 milligrams of sodium per 100 grams. At $4.50 a packet, you pay top dollar for processed cornmeal dusted with European restricted dyes. A verified reviewer recently noted that their primary school-age kids experienced extreme behavioral spikes after parties where CC's were served. The nostalgia tastes great, but the regulatory double standard is impossible to ignore. Number 8 is a supermarket icon, Pringles Original. Produced by Kellanova, formerly Kellogg's, this cardboard cylinder sits in every Coles, Woolies, and IGA snack aisle in the country. Most Aussies grab it assuming it is a uniformly cut potato chip. In 1975, food regulators ruled that Pringles cannot legally be called potato chips. They are classified as composite potato crisps because dehydrated potato makes up barely 40% of the mixture. The remaining 60% is a manufactured paste of rice flour, wheat starch, corn flour, and emulsifiers known as mono and diglycerides of fatty acids, code 471. While the United States FDA moved to ban industrial trans fats, additive 471 remains legally exempt because it is classified as an emulsifier rather than a lipid, allowing trace hydrogenated compounds to bypass trans fat declarations. When you chew a Pringle, notice how it dissolves instantly into an oily, adhesive mush that sticks to the roof of your mouth. That is the starch matrix breaking down into simple sugars. At $5.50 for a tiny 134-gram tube, you are paying over $41 a kilo for reconstituted flour dust. As food technology author Michael Moss documented, Pringles is the ultimate example of a hyper-engineered delivery vehicle built strictly for rapid swallowing and zero satiety. If you are already itching to check your pantry right now, hit that subscribe button, because the corporate engineering only gets rougher from here. Number 7 brings us to Cheezels Original. Owned by Snack Brands Australia, Cheezels is a cultural staple at kids' parties, famous for being shoved onto fingers before eating. The box claims to be made with real cheese, which sounds wholesome. Look at the order of ingredients. Refined corn and rice starches dominate the top slots, while cheese powder is buried down the list, preserved and colored with a potent blend of synthetic dyes, including color 102, tartrazine, and color 110. Tartrazine has been linked in clinical allergy trials to hives, asthma flare-ups, and hyperactive behavior in sensitive children. The intense neon orange ring leaves an oily residue on your skin that requires soap and warm water to wash off, a direct consequence of vegetable fat blended with petrochemical dyes. Priced at $4.80 for 190 grams, you pay over $25 a kilo for puffy starch air and petroleum colorants. One exasperated Melbourne parent wrote on a consumer forum that Cheezels left their toddler's hands dyed bright orange for 2 full bath cycles. Cheezels sells child-friendly fun, but coats your kids in compounds that require hazard warnings across Europe. Number 6 is Twisties Cheese. Another powerhouse from the Smith's Snack Food Company and PepsiCo, Twisties is arguably Australia's most iconic domestic snack, ubiquitous in school canteens and service stations from Perth to Brisbane. The texture is famously knobbly and crunchy, but behind that crunch lies a heavy chemical framework. The seasoning panel features Flavor Enhancer 621, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, and Flavor Enhancer 635, disodium 5' ribonucleotides. When food scientists combine MSG with disodium 635, it creates a synergistic umami cascade that amplifies taste receptor activation by up to 15 times compared to standalone glutamate. Add in artificial colors 110 and 102, and you have an industrial formulation designed to overwhelm human taste receptors. That intense, sticky cheese crust clinging to your teeth is the result of maltodextrin and vegetable fat bonding with synthetic flavoring agents. Selling for $3.80 for 90 grams at local service stations, over $42 a kilo, it represents an astonishing profit margin on basic cornmeal. A Choice consumer review singled out Twisties as a textbook example of additive stacking designed to trigger compulsive overeating. It is an Aussie legend built entirely on laboratory chemistry. Number 5 is Doritos Cheese Supreme. Another multi-billion-dollar brand from PepsiCo's portfolio, Doritos occupies massive shelf real estate in every major supermarket. The ingredient panel on a standard bag of Cheese Supreme lists more than 30 distinct components. Inside that chemical roster, you find a triple-stacked glutamate architecture: MSG 621, disodium inosinate 627, and disodium guanylate 631, combined with maltodextrin, dextrose, and artificial colors 110 and 129, Allura Red AC. What makes this deeply troubling is the global double standard. In the United Kingdom and European Union, PepsiCo sells Doritos colored with natural paprika extract, annatto, and beetroot juice. On Australian shelves, they continue to pump our packets full of petroleum-derived synthetic dyes, simply because our domestic regulations do not mandate the European warning label. In August 2023, public health advocates highlighted how global snack conglomerates exploit lax Australian food labelling laws to offload cheaper chemical formulations while quietly reforming their European lines. At $5.50 for a 170-gram bag, you pay a premium to consume the outdated, chemical-heavy version of a global product. Doritos proves that clean ingredients are entirely possible for big corporations, but Australian consumers are not being given the clean version because our laws do not force their hand. Number 4 takes us into the savoury cracker aisle with Inner Biscuit Dixie Drumsticks. Manufactured under Nabisco by Mondelez International, Dixie Drumsticks returned to Australian shelves after social media campaigns demanded their revival. Consumers remembered the smoky barbecue flavour of childhood, but the modern formulation reveals synthetic antioxidant 320, better known as butylated hydroxyanisole, or BHA. BHA is an industrial petrochemical antioxidant added to fats to prevent rancidity. The European Union restricts BHA in infant foods, and California lists it under Proposition 65 as a known chemical carcinogen based on animal toxicology studies showing forest stomach tumours. Inner Biscuit also stacks monosodium glutamate, yeast extract, and onion powder to simulate roast chicken. The texture is distinctly powdery, leaving a gritty film on your tongue and an artificial smoky tang that lingers for hours. At $4 for a 160-gram box, you pay $25 a kilo for flour, palm oil, and a preservative that international toxicology databases recommend avoiding entirely. A Sydney-based food additive researcher publicly warned that resurrecting nostalgic brands often brings back archaic preservatives that modern food science has moved past. Dixie Drumsticks is nostalgia packaged with petrochemical stabilizers. Number 3 is J. Jaggers BBQ. Another retro brand resurrected by Snack Brands Australia and sold widely through Coles and independent grocers, J. Jaggers are marketed as the ultimate intense barbecue potato snack with a distinctive crisscross shape. An inspection of the ingredient panel reveals synthetic antioxidant 319, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, or TBHQ. TBHQ is derived from petroleum butane. Japan has completely banned TBHQ as a food additive due to safety concerns, while the US limits it strictly. Peer-reviewed animal studies published in Environmental Health Perspectives have linked TBHQ exposure to immune system alterations, liver enlargement, and neurotoxic cellular responses. J. Jaggers pairs TBHQ preserved vegetable oil with 3 different forms of sugar, sucrose, dextrose, and maltodextrin, in what is supposed to be a savory potato crisp. That bizarre, sugary sweetness hitting your palate before the smoke flavor is calibrated to drive rapid insulin spikes and perpetual hunger. Priced at $4.50 for a 150-gram pack, you are funding industrial oil stabilization that Japanese health authorities refuse to allow in their national food chain. When a developed nation bans an additive entirely, seeing it printed in plain text on an Australian supermarket shelf should make every shopper stop in their tracks. Number 2 is Cheetos Flamin' Hot. Sold through Woolworths, Coles, and convenience stores, this PepsiCo product is notorious for its radioactive red appearance and aggressive spice level. The ingredient list features 4 separate synthetic dyes: red 129, sunset yellow 110, tartrazine 102, and brilliant blue 133, stacked alongside monosodium glutamate, disodium inosinate, disodium guanylate, and sodium diacetate. The physical impact is thoroughly documented in emergency medicine. Dr. Carrie Cavender, a pediatric specialist, has documented hundreds of cases of acute gastritis, chemical stomach irritation, and severe abdominal cramping in teenagers who consume spicy processed snacks like Flamin' Hot. Clinical case studies in emergency medicine journals have detailed multiple instances where young patients presented with suspected gastrointestinal bleeding, only for doctors to discover that massive doses of synthetic red 129 dye had stained their digestive tracts. Multiple school districts overseas have banned these snacks from school grounds, yet Australian school kids buy them daily from local corner stores for $3 a bag. That burning sensation in your esophagus is pure citric acid, sodium diacetate, and chemical dyes attacking your stomach lining. That brings us to number 1, Tucky's Fuego. Imported into Australia by the millions and sold prominently at Woolworths, Coles, Costco, and BP service stations, Tucky's Fuego represents the absolute pinnacle of ultra-processed snack engineering. The ingredient list reads like a chemical inventory: corn flour, uncommitted vegetable oil blends, salt, maltodextrin, citric acid, sugar, monosodium glutamate 621, hydrolyzed soy protein, yeast extract, Allura red 129, sunset yellow 110, disodium inosinate 627, disodium guanylate 631, and synthetic antioxidant TBHQ319. Tucky's features a quadruple stacked glutamate system that hyperstimulates taste receptors beyond anything else on the market. Sodium clocks in at a staggering 920 milligrams per 100 grams, meaning half a standard bag wipes out nearly your entire recommended daily sodium intake. The intense crimson dust burns the tongue, inflames mucosal membranes, and delivers a massive dose of banned petroleum preservatives and European restricted dyes in a single mouthful. At $7 for a small imported packet, it is a staggering $65 a kilo ripoff. Pediatric gastroenterologists have repeatedly sounded the alarm over Tucky's causing acute gastritis and severe acid reflux in children. It is the single most aggressive, chemically saturated, and anatomically disruptive snack on Australian shelves today. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. You do not have to give up crunch, you do not have to swear off movie snacks forever, and you do not have to eat plain steamed cardboard to protect your gut. There are manufacturers in Australia who refuse to play the synthetic chemical game, who do not hide petroleum preservatives in their fryers, and who actually make crisps out of recognizable whole foods. Let us go through 4 genuine alternatives available across the country, starting from the most budget-friendly everyday swap and moving up to the gold standard in clean artisan frying. Our first clean swap is the most affordable and widely accessible option in the country: Woolworths Macro Organic Sea Salt Potato Chips. Macro is Woolworths' in-house certified organic brand, which sets a high baseline for what is allowed through the factory door. Under Australian certified organic standards, synthetic chemical preservatives like TBHQ and BHA are strictly prohibited, artificial petroleum-based colorings are banned, and genetically modified crops cannot be used. The ingredient panel on this bag is wonderfully boring: certified organic Australian potatoes, organic high oleic sunflower oil, and sea salt. That is 3 single items. When you open a packet, you immediately smell real, earthy potato skin, rather than the acrid tang of industrial flavor boosters. The texture is a classic crisp cut that snaps cleanly without leaving a greasy synthetic film coating your gums. Sodium sits at a modest 380 milligrams per 100 grams, significantly lower than the ultra-processed mainstream alternatives. At $4 for a generous 150-gram bag, it works out to under $27 a kilo, meaning you pay almost the exact same price as a chemical-heavy commercial packet while getting clean organic produce. An independent review published by the Australian Organic Food Directory praised the line for making clean-label snacks genuinely affordable for family budgets. It is the perfect entry-level replacement for standard supermarket crisps, ideal for school lunchboxes and weekend barbecues. Next up, we step into the corn chip aisle with Mission Organic White Corn Tortilla Chips. While standard commercial corn chips are drenched in artificial flavor enhancers, hidden sugars, and synthetic colorings, Mission's dedicated organic line takes a traditional Mexican culinary approach. The entire recipe consists of whole white corn masa flour, organic high oleic sunflower oil, sea salt, and trace food-grade lime used in the authentic nixtamalization process. Nixtamalization is an ancient Mesoamerican method where corn is soaked in an alkaline mineral solution, naturally unlocking bound nutrients like niacin, improving digestibility, and eliminating the need for industrial emulsifiers or dough conditioners. The crunch on these is dense, robust, and structurally sound. They do not shatter into sad, dusty crumbs the moment you dip them into fresh salsa or homemade guacamole. They taste like toasted, roasted corn, with a clean, savory finish that leaves no cloying chemical residue on your tongue. Priced at $5 for a 200-gram bag at Coles, Woolworths, and IGA, you are looking at $25 a kilo, making them cheaper gram for gram than several ultra-processed flavored chips on our bad list. Certified organic by the USDA and fully non-GMO verified, they represent outstanding value for anyone who loves Mexican food, nacho platters, or clean dipping. If you want a party snack that will not send your kids into hyperactive sensory overload, this is your go-to staple. Our third recommendation takes gourmet snacking to an entirely different level. Rockcliffe Deli Rosemary and Sea Salt Potato Crisps. Produced independently in Western Australia, Rockcliffe Deli rejects the mass production shortcuts of multinational snack conglomerates. Instead of flash frying reconstituted starch slurries, they use whole, skin-on Australian heritage potatoes, sliced extra thick and slowly cooked in pure, cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is loaded with natural polyphenol antioxidants and stable monounsaturated fats, which withstand frying temperatures without degrading into the toxic lipid peroxides typical of commercial polyunsaturated seed oils. The seasoning contains only ground sea salt and real dried crushed rosemary leaves. No yeast extract, no hidden MSG, no hydrolyzed protein, and no artificial aromatic compounds. The sensory experience is phenomenal, an intensely satisfying, hearty crunch with the rich, peppery depth of authentic cold-pressed olive oil, balancing the fragrant herbal pine of real rosemary. It actually tastes like food cooked by a human chef, rather than formulated in a sensory laboratory. Because cold-pressed olive oil is significantly more expensive to source than bulk industrial vegetable oil, these retail at around $6.50 for a 125-gram bag at Harris Farm markets, independent IGAs, and boutique grocers. That is $52 a kilo, which is undeniably a premium price tag. But as clinical nutritionist Luke Hines observed, paying extra for stable olive oil cooking fats protects cardiovascular health while eliminating the inflammatory load of oxidized commercial oils. If you are hosting friends or want a gourmet treat where every single cent goes toward authentic quality ingredients, Rockcliffe Deli delivers exceptional integrity. That brings us to our number one, absolute gold standard recommendation, Chomp Paleo Beef Tallow Kettle Chips. Handcrafted in small batches right here in Australia, Chomp represents the ultimate rejection of modern industrial food manufacturing. Their complete ingredient list reads like something from a traditional farmhouse pantry. Select local non-GMO potatoes, pure Australian grass-fed beef tallow, and unrefined macro-mineral Celtic sea salt. That is the entire product. Beef tallow is a traditional, ancestrally prized cooking fat composed predominantly of heat-stable, saturated and monounsaturated fatty acids, completely devoid of the fragile, inflammatory, polyunsaturated fatty acids found in modern industrial seed oils. Furthermore, grass-fed tallow provides naturally occurring fat-soluble vitamins and conjugated linoleic acid, delivering nutrient density in an aisle notorious for empty calories. The taste and mouthfeel are extraordinary, an astonishingly crisp, dry kettle crunch, followed by a rich, deeply savory umami depth that comes entirely from natural roasted beef fat, rather than synthetic laboratory glutamates. It satisfies your appetite almost immediately because the natural fats trigger genuine hormonal satiety signals in your brain. At $10 for a 120-gram bag, available through specialized health retailers, butcher shops, and direct online, it is an expensive $83 a kilo. It is not an everyday budget chip. It is an unapologetic artisanal statement proving that real, biologically appropriate food still exists. For ancestral eaters, keto adherents, or anyone demanding absolute purity with zero compromises, Chomp stands completely unchallenged at the very top of the Australian market. Now that you know what the snack giants have been feeding us, here is how you take back control on your next supermarket trip. Keep these practical rules in your pocket whenever you walk down the snack aisle at Coles, Woolworths, Aldi, or IGA. First, apply the 5-ingredient threshold. If the ingredient list stretches beyond 5 or 6 real, recognizable items, put it back on the shelf. Second, scan immediately for numbers in the 300s. Seeing antioxidant 319, 320, or 321 means you are buying synthetic TBHQ or BHA, petroleum preservatives that other countries actively restrict. Third, check the color codes. If you spot food color 102, 110, or 129, that electric hue comes directly from industrial coal tar dyes that require childhood hyperactivity warning labels across Europe. Fourth, watch for sneaky flavor enhancer stacking. When you see flavor enhancer 621 alongside 627, 631, or hydrolyzed vegetable protein, food scientists have artificially hijacked your satiety signals to force compulsive binging. Fifth, demand specific oil transparency. Never buy packets that list vague vegetable oil blends, and always look for stable fats like pure, high oleic sunflower, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, or grass-fed tallow. Sixth, beware of front-of-pack health claims. Bold slogans proclaiming no added MSG, gluten-free, or natural flavors are marketing smokescreens designed to distract you from reading the actual chemical panel on the back. The entire ultra-processed snack industry operates on a single profitable trick, replacing real agricultural nutrition with cheap starch paste, synthetic stabilizers, and laboratory-engineered flavor chemistry. You do not need to fall for the packaging illusions any longer, because real food never requires 30 industrial additives to taste incredible. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today to expose what is really going on behind the supermarket facade. If this breakdown opened your eyes, please share this video with a mate or a family member who is still filling their pantry with toxic dyes and hidden preservatives. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 10 bags was sitting in your cupboard right now? Make sure to check out our next investigative expose on ultra-processed breakfast cereals appearing on screen right now. Stop buying their chemicals and start eating real food.